gearing up for another call-out. For paramedics Dan and John, this is the second incident of the day so far, and response time is crucial.
And when you fell, you didn't hit your head. Did you feel dizzy before the fall?
This patient has had a fall at her home and will need to be taken to A&E for an X-ray. On their way to Aberdeen Royal Infirmary, the crew hope their patient will be admitted immediately, but continuous problems with ambulance stacking over the last year has meant this isn't always the case. The hospital has a bed for this patient and she's taken for treatment, but the crew say they're regularly spending more time stacking outside A&E than anything else.
I've sat outside the hospital for about 10 hours with one patient, which obviously in your 12-hour shift is most of it. There's always been stacking in the time that I've been on the road, but I wouldn't really say it's improved much over that time.
Aberdeen Royal Infirmary has consistently struggled with some of the longest ambulance turnaround times in the country. The most recent data shows an average turnaround time of around 1 hour at Grampian. That's almost twice as long as NHS Tayside and around 10 minutes longer than Greater Glasgow and Clyde, despite Glasgow having almost triple the incidents.
We're still spending, on average, sort of 4 hours having to stack with sometimes patients who, we've deemed necessary to go in, and it can be quite difficult to sort of manage a patient when we're not really trained on managing patients for that long. We are ultimately trained in stabilisation and to hospital.
For paramedics, they're often working beyond their contractual hours, waiting in queues outside A&E.
We can't obviously just leave the patient, and we've obviously got to hand them over for further care. So it can be difficult. It's difficult for patients as well, feeling unwell, trying to make them as comfortable as you can in the back of the ambulance on kind of stretchers that aren't designed to be on for periods of time.
We know about the pressures and issues facing hospitals, but it's also been felt by ambulance crews too, and that's only set to increase as we head towards winter. Last year, NHS Grampian declared a critical incident, which saw some ambulances sent to Dundee and Inverness. The Health Board has had the lowest number of acute hospital beds in Scotland in recent years, compared to Tayside, which has twice as many per head of population. But the Scottish Ambulance Service are warning the problems in Grampian pose the highest risk to their service.
As a board, we understand that there are risks involved in every part of delivering healthcare to patients, but due to the extended times that we've seen hospital handover times in Grampian and the limited amount of improvement that we've seen there, that's why it continues to be our highest risk as a board.
My genuine apology to anyone that has had an experience of queuing in an ambulance or in the emergency department awaiting assessment and treatment. Absolutely not what I or any of our colleagues would want at all. And I would seek everyone's support for us to continue to work through our plans, to deliver on the plans, to see that improvement.
Back at A&E, and Dan and John have been waiting more than an hour for their patient to be seen. Every minute spent queuing here is causing a delay to treating other patients.
We're first at the stack. It doesn't guarantee that we'll be in before end of shift. We're obviously hopeful, given the time that we arrived and the fact that there's not too many vehicles here just now. But obviously, as more vehicles show up, that could change. As patients come in, they could be higher acuity than under the patient that's in the back of our vehicle, and so they would need to be prioritised over our patient.
This is just a snapshot of the daily pressures facing the ambulance service. For crews, their focus continues to be on patients and how quickly they can get the treatment they need and deserve. Gráinne Ní Ghréathain, STV News.